Scott RAO es consultor, educador y escritor estadounidense con más de 25 años de experiencia en el café de especialidad. Inició su camino en los años 90 cuando abrió su primera cafetería y desde entonces se ha dedicado a estudiar y perfeccionar cada detalle del tueste y la preparación del café. Es autor de libros de referencia mundial como Everything But Espresso y The Coffee Roaster Companion, considerados manuales obligatorios para baristas y tostadores. Hoy en día viaja por el mundo asesorando a tostadores, cafeterías y profesionales, siendo reconocido como una de las voces más influyentes y respetadas en la historia del café.
Hola, soy María. Este espacio es para quienes creemos que el café es más que una bebida, es un lenguaje. Bienvenidos. Un honor, un tributo enorme tener el invitado que tengo en este primer episodio. Es un invitado que todas las personas que tenemos que ver con el mundo del café lo conocemos, hemos escuchado de él y que para muchos es un gran referente. Qué privilegio tenerlo en nuestro país y que yo sea la persona afortunada de hacerle estas preguntas, de poderlo tener cerquita. La verdad estoy súper nerviosa, pero muy feliz de tenerlo. Con ustedes, Scott RAO.
Scott, question number one. ¿Cómo fue que empezaste en el mundo del café y qué te aportó la industria?
So I got into coffee because when I was in university, I just simply enjoyed going to the coffee shop on the campus, and I fell in love with coffee shops. At the time, coffee wasn't so good. Specialty coffee was kind of new, and then I found one company that was making what I thought was very delicious coffee around that time, and the owner became like a mentor to me and got me really excited about coffee. And then when I left university, I decided I was going to open a cafe, but I had no money. And I decided to drive all across the United States to find the best possible location to make money safely, like not lose my money. And and along the way found people to invest, and it was a good timing. So, yeah.
Question number two. Abriste tu primera cafetería con joven. ¿Qué aprendizajes de esos inicios a una aplicación?
So I was only 22 when I started my first cafe and roastery, and I was very bad at delegating, bad at managing, and it was a hard lesson to, in the beginning I tried to do everything myself, and it took many years to get better at trusting other people to do things and to be a little bit more strategic, and that was really hard, but then it got much easier with time.
Question number three. ¿Qué te motivó a escribir tus primeros libros y compartir tus conocimientos?
So after I sold my first cafe, I had some years off, and when I owned the cafe, I always wished that there were books that would teach me and guide me, and I felt like there was really only one book about coffee that I could use at the time, was David Schonberg's book about espresso, and I thought, I really wish there were some books, and I thought, okay, I have time, I have experience. I spent a few months in the physics library, learning some basic physics that could apply to coffee. I read every coffee research paper that was in English I could find, like hundreds, and then I decided to take what I learned and put it into a book. Just because it was like a service to other, it was like a service to the industry, because I felt like the industry needed this kind of reference.
Question number four. ¿Qué disfrutas más? ¿Escribir, dar clases o trabajar como consultor con tostadores?
I like teaching classes. I find teaching classes, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of interest, a lot of questions. One-on-one consulting can be great for bonding with clients, but sometimes one-on-one consulting is like routine. Like I see the same problems, fix the same problems regularly, but teaching classes is always pretty interesting. So, yeah.
Y nota. Question number five. ¿Cuál es la enseñanza que más buscas dejar en tus estudiantes?
So when I got into coffee, there was an attitude of, I'm like a cowboy. Like I make coffee my way, it's amazing. And sometimes sure, the coffee was great, but I felt like not enough cafes used good systems, right? Roasting, brewing systems. And you need systems because you can't just always do things by instinct, right? It's impossible to roast by instinct. And I really like teaching and getting people to buy into having good systems, because then it ensures consistency and predictability. So I think that's very important.
Okay, question number six. ¿Hacia dónde crees que se dirige la industria del café de especialidad?
I think it's always dangerous to predict the future. Like you always look stupid if you predict the future, but obviously we're seeing a big growth in things like infused and co-fermented coffees. We're seeing much greater variety of processes. It's hard to know where that's going, But I like to think that the co-ferments are probably here to stay, but that since this is the early days for those, I think that they're being done too strongly. Right? You take a co-ferment and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so strong. But I think there's a place for it if there's just a subtle addition to the flavor. Like maybe you grow a coffee and you process it and you think, okay, it's a little bit boring. Like maybe using like 5% or 10% of the amount of co-ferment can make it interesting again without being overwhelming to people who aren't interested in artificial flavors. So that's something I'd like to see in the future. Other things like obviously more technology, more automation, AI, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day AI robots are picking coffee cherries that are perfectly ripe. I don't know. It's hard to say what will come.
Ok.
Yeah.
Question number 7. ¿Qué consejo darías a los jóvenes baristas y tostadores que quieren dejar huella en la industria del café?
So when young people ask me like how to get a job or where to work, I always tell them, don't worry so much about how much money you will make today. Work for people you respect who know what they're doing. Work for people who can teach you something, because that's an investment in yourself. And then later you can make more money or do greater things. But first you need to find someone who can be a really good teacher. If you make a little bit less money but learn a lot, you'll be better off in the long run than if you go for the job that pays the highest but maybe doesn't offer you a lot of learning.
Ok. Question number 8. ¿Qué referencias tienes en la industria del café?
So I was very young when I started in coffee, and I learned a lot from several people. The first person to teach me was my mentor. His name was James Marcado, and he co-owned a company in Los Angeles called City Bean, and he was very kind. He took me with him to go roasting and showed me what he was doing and showed me his systems. And then over the years, I learned from so many people, like early days, like some green suppliers in the US, like Tim Castle, who wrote some books, an older gentleman named John Mastro that I still keep in touch with all these years. And then later on, some people like Andy Schechter, who was a home barista that wrote a lot on the internet. He was kind of like a home scientist that did amazing things with coffee. And then more recently, people like Jonathan Gagné, who wrote the physics of filter coffee, the astrophysicist who writes books about coffee. And he's just completely exploding the science on how coffee brewing works, and it's amazing.
Sure. Bueno, te digo que para mí ha sido un placer realizarte esta entrevista. Bienvenidos a Ping Pong Con. Welcome to Ping Pong with Scott. Scott, your favorite coffee?
Colombian wash Asia.
Favorite coffee origin?
Definitely Colombia. Not just because we're sitting here, but really, seriously.
What do you prefer? Filter or espresso?
Filter.
Favorite book?
The new book from Jonathan Gagné, The Physics of Espresso. Super amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.